Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a few moments as we let more people join.
Kathy, can you see me on there?
I cannot.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on anyhow, because I can't see me either.
And you've clicked on the little video camera?
Yeah, I thought I did, but
There you are, Lily.
okay, thanks.
Well, I think we can get started. Welcome to the 2023 PATH International Annual Meeting. I'm so glad you're able to join us today to learn about the work PATH International Board, staff, and volunteers have been doing on your behalf, as well as an update on the state of the industry. The faces that you see on your screen are your PATH International Board of Trustees, as well as additional volunteers who will be presenting today. If you would like to say hello, please use the chat function. If you have any questions, please use the question section. If there are any questions, we will answer a couple of questions after certain reports. If there are more than a couple of questions, we will answer them at the end of the presentation if there's time, or we will contact you after the presentation. Rain, can you put up the demographic poll? We like to know who's in the room, who our audience is. And Rain, you're going to have to go ahead and share the results, because my screen is in slideshow presentation mode.
Okay, we were just getting a couple other ones there. I will go ahead and close that and share it.
Thank you.
So it looks like for the instructor role, we have 44% of our attendees are instructors. For licensed therapy professionals, we have 6%. And in the administrator role, we have 27%. We do not have any equine specialists or equine managers with us, and 23% are listed as other.
Great, thank you, Rain, appreciate it. If anyone that marked other in the poll wants to put in the chat section how you identify your role and your connection to PATH International and Equine Assisted Services, that would be lovely. And now I would like to introduce Ed Milford, our PATH International Board of Trustees President, to officially open the meeting.
So good morning and good afternoon, depending upon where you might be in the country or even around the world. This is Path International, and welcome everyone to the Path International annual meeting. I call this meeting to order at 9:34 Mountain Time. So with that, I will turn it over to Jessica Norman.
Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. I'm your board secretary. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the Path International annual meeting minutes from last year's annual meeting, 2022. Aviva?
So Aviva was going to second it.
I second.
Try it
I make
again.
a motion.
Thank you, Aviva. And who seconded?
I'll second.
second.
This is Sue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aviva and Sue.
And then, Rain, if you would put up the voting poll for the minutes. And once the votes are in, if you would read them off, that would be great.
Perfect. Okay, I will go on ahead and close that and share it. Looks like we have 71% approve and 29% abstain.
Great. Thank you, Rain. And thank you, Jessica. I will go ahead and turn it back over to Ed. Ed,
All right,
There
let's
you
start
are.
again. Again, greetings to all at the Path International annual meeting. It's a pleasure to serve as your president. This is my last term, so let me just go over a few things. First, let me start my president's report by thanking you, our incredible and resilient members, for giving me the opportunity to serve as your president the past 2 years. It's been an honor and truly a privilege to serve as your president. I've seen you overcome quite a few things: the pandemic, the redesign of our membership tier, and the launch of our CTRI program. You did an amazing job handling these challenges. Second, let me tell you that PATH is achieving its mission as we continue to deliver against our strategic plan, which you helped craft based upon your feedback that you gave us a few years ago. Third, Path International is financially sound, and your board of trustees are executing its fiduciary responsibilities, as you'll hear from our treasurer later. And lastly, let me thank Kathy and her incredible staff for their dedication and support to me and to you, our members. Let me also thank our Board of Trustee members for their full engagement and dedication to Path International during my presidency. That's my report, and I'll go on to the next slide. The Path International President's Award is an award dedicated upon giving by the award upon and given by the Board of Trustees president to an individual or group of individuals who have, with enthusiasm and dedication, supported the president and endeavored to bring about success of the association's strategic initiatives. For the past 8 years, Path International has been involved in a bold, industry evolving project to take steps towards further legitimizing our industry. From our bylaw change through the celebration of its accreditation, the Path International CTRI has been a focal point for the board, staff, centers, transitioning instructors, and new instructors. The President's Award was presented at the annual conference this year to the Credentialing Council for their hard work, dedication to the accreditation of the CTRI. Thank you to everyone that is serving or have served on the Credentialing Council. Rain, could you please put up the poll? So in the poll asks, do you hold the CTRI credential? Please select yes or no. We'll give it another half second. Rain, could you post the results? That's an incredible number. So 75% of you hold the CTRI credential. Congratulations. So if we can go on to the next slide, and I would like to introduce Sue Beckenberger, who's going to take us through our new board of trustees.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to stand in for Brandon, who was unavoidably detained. So the governance report and election results. The voting process for the trustees and the region representatives. All votes were received and recorded at the administrative offices of Path International, located at 8670 Wolf Court, Westminster, Colorado. Survey ballot was distributed by August the 30th and closed by September the 30th. Kathy Alm, the CEO, and 2 of the Path International staff, Anna Warbritton, the executive assistant, and Adria Peterson, membership manager, verified the results. The results were certified to the existing and elected trustees within 10 days of the count on October 4th, 2022.
That is actually 2023. Sorry. for the
2023, my notes. I'm sorry.
I know.
I don't even know what year it is. Yes, it was 2023. Thank you.
Yep.
And our new trustees that have been elected are Alan Durantes and Katie Vacris. The election results for the region representatives. Region 1, Leora Berry. Region 3, Ashlyn Batten. Region 5, Robin Bramson. And Region 9, Holly Cohen. And last but not least, Region 11, Courtney Miller. And now I would like to pass it to Scott Carver, our treasurer.
Good morning. As we go through the slides, if anyone has any questions while we walk through the treasurer's report, please enter them into the chat and we'll do our best to answer all the questions, time permitting, when we get through the treasurer's report. I'd like to start off by saying it is my absolute pleasure to present the audited financial statements that run through July 1st through June 30th, which is our fiscal year. Altric, our external auditors, have provided us with a clean audit with no deficiencies noted. So what that means is that we have good internal controls that ensure the integrity of the financial and accounting information. So last year, we had new accounting standards update, which was related to lease obligations. However, this year we did not have any new accounting standards that we adopted. Now, as we go through the audited financial statements at a very high level, please note that we will have the statements posted to our website at some point after the meeting for you to go through. So flipping to the next slide, please. So this is really a good snapshot that shows our revenues, our balance sheet, and our net assets. And there's a couple of highlights that I'd like to cover with you today. So while revenue was relatively flat compared to last year, it remains strong. And it included a one-time employee retention credit of $131,000 this year. We managed our expenses very well, with the year-over-year increase primarily related to program expenses. And you'll also see, as you comb down this slide, you also see that our liabilities continue to reduce. So just a quick snapshot on what are the liabilities. Those are really the items that you need to account for that have occurred but are scheduled to be paid in the future. Kind of like if you bought something today with your credit card, you receive those goods or those services right now, but you have to pay for it later on. So now as we focus on our assets just for a minute, it's going to appear that we decreased around $97,000 year over year. But the primary driver of that decrease were non-cash transactions. So depreciation and amortization. What's depreciation? So in its simplest form to explain what depreciation, why that's a non-cash transaction. Let's just take the example of very simplistic. If you bought a vehicle for your center and that truck cost, let's just say $100,000 and it had a useful life of maybe 10 years. So what the government says and what generally accepted accounting principles say is that you don't take that expense all in year one, the year that you pay for it with that cash. You would really take a tenth of that every year. So $10,000 every year would hit the expense line. So really that is what the bulk of that $97,000 reduction was. We paid for it in the past for assets, but we're just taking that expense. So that's why it's a non-cash transaction. Another call out in this section is really a geography shift. So as you look at the financial statements after this call, you're going to see a shift in cash where it looks like it reduced around $500,000. Really, that was just a geography shift where we took that from cash and we put it into a board designated endowment fund, which was established to use the earnings from low risk investment vehicles to provide member benefits. And now a lot of our net assets are tied up in cash, as you'll see, which is a really good position to be in. So if we could flip to the next slide. Now this slide breaks down our sources of revenue. It's showing solid, stable growth by category. If we could flip then to allocated expenses. Okay, so how do we spend our money? So we are considered, and as you go through our audited financial statements, I want you to focus on the fact that we are considered a best in class related to how we spend our resources, where 81%, as you can see on the slide, of our resources are spent on credentialing, education, and membership, which is all about you as members of this organization. And we'll talk about that in the summary on why that's important. If we could flip to the next slide. So of those program expenses, which took up about 80% of our expenditures for the year, this is really then breaking that down by category. So how much went towards membership, how much went towards credentialing, and ultimately education. We can flip to the net asset slide. So this slide is really showing the stability of our financial position as an organization. And these reserves are very important, as we've seen in the past pandemic, to have funds available to serve our members when times get tough. If we could flip to the summary, please. Okay, so a few takeaways and things to think about as an organization. So due to Kathy and her amazing team, we controlled expenses and took advantage of one-time government grants that allowed us to end the year with a strong net asset balance that we look forward and we look to grow upon in future years. And we have over 7 months of cash on hand to cover expenses, which is a tremendous position to be in. As we previously reviewed on the allocated expense chart, we are best in class on how we spend our resources to support our members. So really a non-for-profit organization strives to fall somewhere between 15% to 25%. And as you saw on that last slide, we're at 19%. We have strong controls in place to ensure our financial statements are properly stated and that the organization's assets are protected. And then again, after this call, as you look through those financial statements, we are managing in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, which pleases me that we have such good controls all the way up from the board down to every member on Kathy's team. And that really gives us the opportunity to sleep well at night. Flipping to the last slide. So as mentioned, the board designated $500,000 to be invested with the earnings to be utilized for member benefit each year. It's worth noting again that Kathy and her team have done an amazing job managing expenses and will continue to focus on inflation this year and increased costs of doing business into 2024. And last but certainly not least, we'll continue to focus on membership retention and reactivation in 2020. So with that, I'd like to ask Rain if there are any questions.
There are no questions, Scott.
Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity to present our financial position. I'd like to now turn it over to Kathy Alm, our Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the report for everyone. I want to start with a poll. Rain, would you put up the poll about how long attendees have been PATH International members? And then report on it when it's ready to share?
Of course. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close it and share it. So it looks like, so currently we have 107 attendees in the audience, and it looks like out of those, 13% have been a member for 1 to 5 years, 19% have been a member for 6 to 10 years, 17% have been a member for 11 to 15 years, 46% have been a member for more than 15 years, and 5% are not members.
Thank you, Rain. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody filling out the poll. It is good to see that we have a widespread of, we've got a lot of long-term members, but we also have newer members and that are with us today, which I very much appreciate. And I want to start my CEO report section by thanking all of the volunteers and committees, including the board and credentialing council, that work tirelessly all year long to fulfill PATH International's mission. We could not have accomplished so much for the membership and credentialed professionals without your work and your support. I also want to give a shout out to the PATH International staff for their dedication. Between the volunteer committees and staff, we had another successful year in serving our members and credentialed professionals and the industry. As a group, we accomplished a great deal as we emerged from the restrictions of the pandemic and learned how our industry and PATH International needed to operate in the new normal. The stats you see are from the calendar year 2022, unless otherwise noted. Center memberships were at 794, up from 776. We are rebuilding towards our pre-pandemic number of 813. Premier accredited centers are at 253, down by 3, which is not entirely surprising considering the backlog created by the pandemic. Individual members are 3,928, which is down slightly from 3,981. However, we ended the fiscal year, June 30th, 2023, at 4,133 individual members. So we are trending back up. Our certified professionals are at 4,737. And that is all of our certifications, not simply CTRIs. The total number of equines is 5,251, which is up from 4,438. Total number of center employees is 3,024, which is down from 3,075. Total number of center volunteers is 38,994, which is down from 39,317. Total number of participants is 46,629, which is up from 45,135. And the participant waiting list has come down. It's at 8,924 from 9,650. It's still very large. The specialty programs that are offered, programs diversified some from previous years' reports, primarily through equine-assisted learning and equine-assisted psychotherapy. This is evidenced by the disabilities by the numbers that are listed. The top 5 disabilities or challenges represented by participants are autism, attention deficit disorder or other hyperactivity disorder, developmental delay or disability, learning disability, and emotional, behavioral, and/or mental health issues. Previously, cerebral palsy and Down syndrome were in that top 5. Center budget sizes, over half the centers have budgets greater than 100,000, with a significant increase in centers with budgets between 100,000 and 149,999. We continued our work in representing PATH International and the industry through a variety of presentations, representations, and connections, as seen by the list on your screen. I'm not going to read through the list because I'm pretty sure all of you can read through this list, but a lot of myself and other staff and board represented PATH International all around the world. We also continued our efforts to directly connect with members through region conferences and center visits. 2 significant initiatives to update is we had partnered with the Temple Grandin Equine Center on an assessment protocol initiative to gather data on the quality of life impact of therapeutic adaptive riding on participants. Based on survey feedback and the work of subject matter experts, we chose assessments from PROMIS and NIH Toolbox and created a process for data collection. This was piloted at 3 PATH International centers, small, medium, and large. From this pilot, we determined which assessments were most useful, as well as challenges to the data gathering process for our centers. Our next step is to utilize this information to pilot the assessment process with a larger group of centers. Our hope is to have a standardized assessment process for measuring the health and social impact of therapeutic adaptive riding on participants that would allow us to gather this data, which centers could use in aggregate to demonstrate the efficacy of this service. The second initiative is the ongoing work with terminology. The terminology work group has continued to meet. We have developed an equine assisted services terminology checklist for centers, an EAS definitions guide for service providers, and an equine assisted services definitions guide for researchers. All are on the website for your use. In addition, recreational therapists were added to the therapy section of the terminology paper. We have been pleased to see the ongoing impact of that terminology work on the industry as a whole, as more and more people adopt the term equine assisted services and also adopt the therapy first language, equine assisted learning, as well as the horsemanship language. It is helping to clarify and clear up some of the misperceptions and confusion around terminology. We're not done yet, and it's not perfect. We still hear the terms that we wish would not be used anymore, but we're hearing them far less. Rain, are there any questions?
There are no questions.
Okay, thank you. And now I would like to introduce Brett Masiak, Director of Credentialing. Brett?
Great, thank you, Kathy. So I'm here to give you an update on the credentialing organization. There's a lot of information here and a lot of acronyms. So I invite any and all of you to submit any or enter any questions that you have on the content, and I'll ask Rain towards the end of my section here if there are any questions. Otherwise, you're welcome to reach out to me privately, and I'm happy to answer your questions as well. Overall, in the pursuit of professionalism and trust and recognition of our credentials by the general public in particular, Path International is a member of several professional organizations promoting excellence in credentialing. The Institute for Credentialing Excellence, or ICE, is a professional membership association that provides education, networking, and resources for organizations and individuals who work in and serve the credentialing industry. ICE is a leading developer of standards for both certification and certificate programs, and is a provider of, as well as a clearinghouse for information on trends in certification, test development and delivery, assessment-based certificate programs, and other information relevant to the credentialing community. Through demonstrating compliance with the standards that ICE has put forth for certification programs, we have achieved accreditation of the Certified Therapeutic Riding Instructor Certification, or CTRI, through the National Commission of Certifying Agencies, NCCA. So many of you see that term floating around a lot more these days because of that new accreditation. NCCA is the accrediting arm of the Institute of Credentialing Excellence. The NCCA standards for accreditation were developed to help ensure the health, welfare, and safety of the general public. So by demonstrating compliance with their standards, we are committing to being dedicated to those goals in particular. NCCA accredited programs certified individuals in a wide range of professions, and those occupations include nurses, automotive professionals, respiratory therapists, counselors, emergency technicians, and now therapeutic riding instructors. Path International is also a member of the Professional Certification Coalition, PCC. The PCC was founded in 2018 to address legislation that affects professional certification programs, those who hold private certification credentials, and the many constituencies that rely on professional certification. The PCC is actually a DC unincorporated nonprofit association, and it's governed by a steering committee of the Institute for Credentialing Excellence, ICE, and the American Society of Association Executives, ASAE. In a few minutes, we'll take a closer look at the activities that the PCC and its members are engaged in. Path International is committed to maintaining all of these memberships and NCCA accreditation as demonstration to our members, certified professionals, and the public of our dedication to the advancement of professional equine-assisted services through rigorously developed credentialing practices. And all of that is done to ensure universal recognition of professional equine-assisted services and the transformative impacts that enrich lives. Now we'll take a look at the number of certified professionals delivering equine-assisted services within our community. This is a snapshot of instructors holding current certification for the calendar year. So as Kathy mentioned earlier, these are calendar year numbers. These numbers show that we actually have a notable dip in advanced TRIs, driving instructors, and equine specialists in mental health and learning from the previous year. So we'll be reaching out, doing some outreach to learn a little bit more about why the certified professionals let those certifications lapse, if they're intending on reinstating them. We want to make sure we understand why certified professionals are either leaving or retiring or just taking a pause from delivering equine assisted services. So you'll see some surveys in the coming year on those topics. Next, I want to take a look at what's new in credentialing. So the credentialing department continually develops courses and workshops to provide training and professional development to our members and certified professionals. Our most recent offerings include the Fundamentals of Equine Assisted Learning online course. This is an online facilitated course that was created to train EAL, Equine Assisted Learning professionals, on the PATH International approved EAL competencies so that they may establish the appropriate qualifications and facilitation skills to safely and effectively deliver EAL programming. It is a 13-week intensive course. We have several of them running this year, and we will deliver it as often as we can, but it is a facilitated course, so we do need to have faculty dedicated to it. So if you're eager to take it, let me know so that I am aware of the number of people who are interested, but please also be mindful that we can only run it so often because of the number of faculty we have available. That online course actually feeds into an EAL certificate program. So this program requires completion of the online fundamentals course and then documentation of 60 hours of EAL facilitation. That includes with groups and one-on-one. And with the documentation of that hours, and if those hours are accepted, then that will result in completion of the EAL certificate program. We also this year have been beta testing the Principles of Therapeutic Riding workshop. This workshop series actually is derived from the previous registered therapeutic riding instructor on-site workshop. So it's been developed to be delivered in segments to provide foundational education about therapeutic riding. And it's been designed to address a variety of audiences, including program volunteers, boards, potential grantors, and the general community around our centers. As a whole, it provides broad and fundamental training for CTRIs, establishing a solid jumping off point for more focused mentorship in TR. And Carrie Garnett will talk a little bit more about that workshop later on. The credentialing department is also working with the education department to update the PATH International Mentor Training course. So this course, it has been delivered in person and online in years past and will continue to be once we've implemented the updates. The updates will incorporate information for certified professionals mentoring CTRIs. So that's one area that the mentor training course to this date has, it's still referenced registered therapeutic riding instructor preparation, which is relevant when it comes to criteria, but not when it comes to the actual certification processes. So we're making sure that all of the content is updated to reflect what CTRIs need to know to be prepared so that mentors can assist them through that certification process. Individuals who completed the mentor training in the past are invited to retake the course once it relaunches and or participate in mentor seminars at PATH International conferences. Those seminars do not take the place of the mentor training course, rather they present the current certification processes and requirements for all certification programs. So it doesn't delve into mentorship practices, techniques. It's really talking about the certification processes and what candidates need to be aware of to be prepared for certification. I want to thank all numerous volunteers of the PATH International Certification Oversight Committee and the certification subcommittees, as well as subject matter experts, for representing PATH International members and certified professionals through the ongoing support and development of all of these workshops listed here, as well as other certification prep education. And last but not least, the credentialing department has initiated a new communication series intended to bring clarity to the CTRI certification program by providing background and context for the certification requirements. So this communication series is revisiting the information that was shared many years ago through the development of the CTRI process, but we're bringing it forward again and providing more context for now that it's in practice versus in development as it was previously. Each communication in the Trek to Clarity series will address a different topic related to one or more of the CTRI certification requirements, and we'll also cover frequently asked questions about those topics. Thus far, we've sent out two, so one in September, one in October. In September, we addressed the the video demonstration for part 3 of the CTRI application. And then in October, we looked at a comparison of CTRI mentors and supervising instructors, what those roles are, the qualifications, and then what CTRI applicants can expect from each of those people in each of those roles. Okay, next I'd like to provide a little legislation update for you all. So this goes back to the PCC, or Professional Certification Coalition. And this is the work that coalition is doing on our behalf, or on behalf of many certified professionals across the country. So as a member of the PCC, Path International is following developments in both federal and state legislation that may impact our association and our certified professionals. Among the relevant legislation being monitored by the PCC are the Freedom to Invest in Tomorrow's Workforce and the Rebuild Skills Act, as well as a bill that would capture information about professional recognized, or specifically accredited, credentials as part of the US Census. So that's a very new addition that just came out this fall. Really quick to go over these, the Freedom to Invest in Tomorrow's Workforce Act is linked to the 529 saving plan, so that beneficiaries could use those funds to pay for certification and other credentials, not just for higher education or vocational programs as it is now. So that would be a great improvement, another financial avenue for potential applicants to take to earn our certification. And the Rebuild Skills Act allows for scholarships for eligible individuals for certification exam fees. And then also, lastly, I mentioned the Bureau of Census would collect more information for us regarding who holds specifically accredited credentials. If you're interested in the bill activity in your state, please reach out to me, and I'm happy to confirm the bills and or titles of the numbers and or titles of the active bills in your state. At the state level, PCC is highly engaged in monitoring the drafting and proposal of clean slate bills or other bills which restrict the consideration of criminal conviction history by occupational licensure boards and or private certification organizations or professional or trade associations. So this is something that we need to be aware of so that we can make sure that we are asking the correct, or gathering the correct information from all of our applicants and certification candidates in accordance with state bills. Wherever possible, the PCC seeks to amend the legislation rather than opposing it, so that laudable objectives of the legislation can be achieved while also avoiding harm to those who rely on professional certification. That includes employers, reimbursers, and the general public, as well as, of course, then the individual professionals themselves who have achieved certification status. And next, I'd like to share with you the list of current credentialing council members and the roles through which they represent Path International members and certified professionals. The council charter allows for 11 voting members in specific representative roles. And this year, members are asked to vote for one of the nominees for a premier accredited center representative for smaller centers. The PICC election is currently open. And it will close at 11:59 p.m. Mountain on December 31st. So keep an eye on the e-news and as well as standalone election announcements to participate in the election for your new Credentialing Council member representatives. And with that, I would like to pass it over to Carrie Garnett.
Rain, are there any questions for Brett before she passes it over?
Yes, we do have a couple of questions. The first one that popped up is there going to be an initiative to offer more opportunities to gain the advanced writing instructor certification if they so desire?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So we have done in the recent years a bit of a redesign of the advanced process so that people can break it down into smaller chunks and make it a little bit more manageable, number one, with their schedules, and then also make it not quite as stressful by they can break up the testing so they're not testing for quite so many things at one event. So with that, we're hoping to also open up the number of centers that can deliver the advanced certifications. So far, that's working slowly but surely. And then we're also just starting the development of a Path International Advanced Prep Workshop. We're finding that a lot of folks are having some challenges finding some advanced prep workshops offered by either centers or CTR or advanced TRIs. And so we've decided to work with the Writing Certification Subcommittee to develop a workshop that will be delivered through Path International for folks pursuing ATRI certification.
Thank you. One more question for now. In regards to the EAL certificate program, will there be a very clear expectation if they will be able to provide services with horse leader volunteers after they are certified, or will they be required to have an ES in a session with them? There seems to be many unclear protocols and expectations even after taking the certification program.
Gotcha. Okay. So whenever delivering EAL services at a Path International Center, per the guidelines and the standards, yes, an equine specialist in mental health and learning should be involved. So that's under the framework of the Path International standards and in the guidelines. If it's not at a Path International Center and the individual, the professional delivering the services holds our certificate, then they are strongly advised, though technically not required, to have an equine specialist in mental health and learning. That is not necessarily the ideal structure. So what we present in the course is the ideal structure of having an ES that is responsible for the equine in every EAL session, and then an education professional that is responsible for the client or the students or the group that is there for the services. So bear in mind there, because we don't have an official certification for EAL, we've developed these micro credentials to help ensure that the individuals, the certificate program and following micro credentials to help ensure that the individuals have all of the qualifications and the facilitation skills to safely and effectively deliver EAL sessions, but they need to be mindful of whether or not they're doing that at a Path International Center or not. So that's the delivery of where those sessions takes place is really what determines whether there needs to be a Path International ESMHL involved. And we can certainly provide more communication to the whole of the membership through e-news as well as on the EAL webpage on that topic. So I'll make sure I add that to my to-do list. Any other questions?
If there are other questions, we'll hold them till the end just to make sure we have enough time. And if we don't get to them, we will respond to your questions after the presentation. So thank you, Brett. And now we'll turn it over to Carrie.
Good morning or afternoon, everyone. To start with our membership update, Path International began work on an individual member retention and reactivation campaign in early 2022. During that time, we gathered feedback from current and lapsed members, which included surveys to lapsed members who held the CTRI, to lapsed members not holding the CTRI, to our current members, and finally, we held focus groups with lapsed members. From these results, of members and non-members, we found that the following were the most important items to them: affordability, networking and connection, accessibility and convenience, recognition, and education. In response, Path International added to the Professional Plus membership a USEF membership, which included access to individual health insurance. Working with our region leadership teams, they provided 5 free members-only webinars, and those webinars are the recordings are included on Member Connection. In the last year, we focused on promoting the Path International Perks program through Affinity and all of the discounts that go along with that at the region conferences. We also continue to add resources and promote the networking opportunities of Member Connections. This year, we were very excited to launch the member spotlights on social media, and those were very well received. For our center members, we continue to provide the benefit of Grant Station to research grant opportunities. In this last year, as part of the retention campaign, we focused on rebranding our membership materials and messages. And the first item that many of you may have seen was the redesigned membership card. And more redesigned items will be coming out in this following year. As part of the surveys from both current and lapsed members, we heard that our member portal was not the most user-friendly. So in response to that, in 2022, Path International launched a new portal with a new design and user-friendly functionality. Part of this redesign also included updated functionality for certified professionals to submit their maintenance forms and for certification candidates to track their progress. I'm going to jump a little bit because we have a little education update that we didn't have listed. So Brett had mentioned the Principles of Therapeutic Writing workshop. So in this last year, we finalized development of a multi-section Principles of Therapeutic Writing workshop founded on the previous registered TRI workshop. This new workshop can be delivered by centers on demand and on their own schedule. The first two sections of the workshop are designed to be delivered by Path International Center staff to educate center boards, volunteers, community, and potential grantors to help them gain foundational understanding of therapeutic writing. Additional sections of the workshop can be delivered separately or as a series by Path International faculty to provide a base layer of education for instructors in training in their pursuit of CTRI certification. We have concluded beta testing and on the workshop for in-person delivery with an expected public launch date of 2024. Future iterations of the workshop may include online virtual delivery. Now jumping into center accreditation, the virtual site visit process launched in 2022. And in last calendar year, we had 17 virtual site visits completed. We also resumed in-person site visits with 17 site visits completed as well. Of those 17 centers with in-person visits, we had 4 who were eligible for the virtual site visits, but chose to pay for their in-person. In this next coming year, Path International staff working with volunteers will be updating the site visitor training course and hosting that in multiple areas, including a virtual component to that. Rain, do I have any questions?
Yes, we did have one pop up for you, Carrie. It was, I have a question about how to get the USEF membership number. It sounds like Professional Plus members are supposed to receive it automatically with a question mark.
They are. They should be receiving those from USCF. If I will get that person's name afterwards, they do send us the list as well. So if we have questions, we can provide that. So I will connect with the person who asked that question.
Thank you. That's all the questions for you right now, Carrie.
All right. Thank you. Kathy, back to you.
Thank you, Carrie. The strategic plan update. The board reviewed the strategic plan and additional new information in May of this year and set the following priorities for the year, the following focus for us. The Trek to Clarity for the CTRI, which Brett already reported on. CTRI prep workshops, a survey to inform the workshop has been completed and we are focusing on producing that. The CTRI NCCA accreditation communication, this is the public facing on the importance of the accreditation. The action plan for the CTRI accreditation, and by action plan, what we mean is focusing on Medicaid waivers, bringing the accreditation of the CTRI forward to states which lends credibility to the state providing appropriate waiver reimbursement for therapeutic riding. To that end, we have surveyed centers to determine what Medicaid waiver funding is currently being utilized, and we have begun discussions in Colorado. We are also looking at various workforce development plans in various states and have initiated discussion with Kentucky. And I spoke at the Michigan State Legislative Day focused on CTRI credential accreditation, Medicaid waiver program, and workforce development. As Carrie already mentioned, member retention and reactivation, the campaigns are underway, and we are continuing to review the different member levels, doing a member level review. Educating, training mentors and supervisors for CTRI process, as Brett mentioned. We are working on updating the CTRI study guide and creating a volunteer toolkit for centers to utilize. And last but certainly not least, our social media strategy. We are working on an increased presence on social media. Rain, are there any questions?
There are no questions at this time.
Okay, then I am going to turn it over to Dion Newton, Chair of our Membership Outreach Committee. Excuse me.
Sorry about that. Hi, I just am going to give you a quick update on the things that the Membership Oversight Committee has, or Membership Outreach Committee has been reporting on. The Membership Outreach Committee is comprised of the MOC chair, which is myself, as well as 11 region representatives from the different regions in PATH. Each region representative appoints and leads a region leadership team. This year, at the beginning of the year, we went from a switch from being the state chairs and communication chairs positions to having ambassadors. The ambassadors are able to be from any of the states within the region, not just state specific. And this has allowed the region representatives to appoint individuals within their regions who are enthusiastic and willing to engage in outreach, regardless of where they are located within the region. Each region representative delegates responsibilities among the ambassadors that best meets the needs of the region. So far, the region or the Membership Outreach Committee has felt that this has been a positive change, resulting in better overall engagement with PATH members, and that the role of the MOC is better supported and able to assist PATH International with initiatives to support members and potential members in the equine assisted services industry, and to lead the region leadership teams in outreach efforts. The focus of the outreach committees this year has been member retention and reactivation, as well as offering free virtual education to PATH members. The MOC has been very busy this year with reports of 2,201 volunteer hours were spent doing outreach by the MOC and RLT, which is an equivalent to nearly $70,000. Not all of the hours are counted, but this is a pretty big number. We know that there are many hours that are spent doing region conferences and other outreach events that are not logged. So there's a lot of volunteer going on with that. According to our reports, 7,125 times members and centers were communicated with by the MOC and region leadership teams. And the most common topics of discussion were the CTRI process, certification candidate seeking mentors, credentialing, individual membership, center accreditation, and continuing education. Organized outreach included 8 state meetings, a CTRI panel discussion, and 2 educational events. These events were attended by 322 members and 41 non-members. There were also 8 region conferences that were held, and those were attended by a total of 665 members. 5.5 hours of free continuing education were produced by the region leadership teams, and those are now available, as mentioned previously, on Member Connection to the general membership. Facebook continues to be the most popular form of social media used by members, but the MOC and region leadership teams are encouraging the use of Member Connection. Member Connection has now grown to include 22 different communities, including one for each region. Engagement in the Member Connection also is continuing to increase. As far as challenges this year, we've had some vacancies in the region representative positions. However, to date, all of those positions have been filled. You can see the names of the current people. We have some new people coming in for 2024. We are still struggling to fill all the ambassador positions. So if that's something of interest to you, if you'd like to be more involved, it's a great opportunity to support the membership and to make a difference in how we are able to serve PATH and how PATH can serve us as members. And other than that, we've done a lot of outreach and have a lot of things in plan for 2024 for virtual education. So we're excited about that. And Rain, are there any questions?
There are no questions, Dion.
All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over now to Aviva Vincent, the trustee and chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee.
Hello, everybody. So I have been the chair of the DEI committee, but have a phenomenal, wonderful group that is with me every step of the way. As you can see here on the screen, these are the names of everybody that's there. Some have been repeating their terms or joining up again. We also have had new members this year. We're also incredibly thankful to the PATH team that has also joined us, as some of our work about in a moment has impacted different areas of work, and so they have also stepped into our monthly meetings as well to ensure that we're in alignment with both work and that we're being efficient with our time. So thank you so much to everybody who has been coming to our meetings. And I'm going to walk us through some of the current initiatives and progress that we've made over the last year. So we have our charge, which has not changed since last year. So we are an advisory board, or an advisory group, sorry, to the Board of Trustees. And I work closely with the Board of Trustees chair, who also is the DEI for the board itself. So that's Christina. And so we work closely together as well to ensure that everything's in alignment there too. Our aim is to support you, support members, support staff in order to create a supportive, diverse, equitable, and inclusive culture. And we do that through a number of different initiatives. The main objectives that we've been focusing on are to provide feedback directly to the board on DEI goals and objectives, to work with the staff to develop those action plans, which we're going to talk through, assist implementation. So our meetings tend to be what we would call a working meeting. So we're really doing work on the ground and providing ongoing feedback again to the staff regarding that implementation process. Next slide. Cool. So I'd love to share with you some of the gains that we've made over the last year, which is entirely in part to all of your participation, questions, and critical conversations. So we have more objectives than just what you see on the screen, but I'm going to call out the specific things that we have worked on. So in our first goal, which is to commit to the diversity, equity, and inclusion within the organizational programs to expand access, engagement, participation for marginalized and underrepresented people and communities. Within this goal, there are a number of objectives, but you see here on the screen, I've called out A, C, and E. And that's because as a committee, we decided that that's really where we were going to dive in and focus our attention for the last year. The way that we've done this for objective 1A, we continue to review our standards and code of ethics. This is still an ongoing process. So what that literally means is that in our DEI committee meetings, we are literally reviewing the language of our standards and the language of our code of ethics to ensure that we are promoting DEI, so diversity, equity, and inclusion in the language. That way, what we then do on the ground as PATH members or as staff or centers is very actionable. And then we also have a book club. So we have an ongoing meetings, which Lena runs. If anybody's interested in joining, we have a current read going on for the start of the new year. And it sounds fun and it sounds fluffy, but it's actually an incredibly intentional initiative to try to bring us all together. So we all work in our different centers to bring us together to have critical conversations over a really good book. Within Objective 1C, creating an affinity space. So we did this at the conference. For those of you who are there, would love to still hear more feedback. So we have an affinity space at our biannual meetings, and then a DEI booth to share out information about our committee. And this past year, we had multiple sessions that were held during the conference as well. We would love to see the number of sessions continue to increase over time. So if you have any interest in presenting, please look for that next call. We're also going to hopefully have some ongoing learning opportunities between conferences. And then also under 1C, we included demographic questions within our membership portal to collect data. So this is a really important one because prior to this past year, in 2020 was the last time we collected data, and we included centers, volunteers, participants, and centers all together in that data. It's important data and it's great, but it was included all together. And we weren't able to necessarily break it out. And at that time, we did have data that was collected that showed that 89% of participants or individuals that reported the data were white or Caucasian. Based on the 2022 survey that came out, 509 centers did report back, and we have seen an uptick in that diversity. It is huge. So we have seen of 509 centers completed the survey, 167 reported some DEI statistics for us to be able to look at. 72% of participants reported to be white or Caucasian, 80% of volunteers, and 87% of staff. That is still a large majority, but it has changed, and we're able to get more nuanced in that data. And that is a direct representation of asking more specific questions of people when we have the opportunity to connect. So that's an important survey step that we took, and it's really important data. I know I'm going through it very quickly now, but I'm excited to share too that some of this data will be wrapped up in the next fact sheet that will be released in the next year. So you'll have access to this data as well. Under 1E, we did establish DEI scholarships. And we awarded 5 of those DEI scholarships to be able to attend the conference, and that we believe that that was really advantageous and helpful in getting more people to be able to feel like they are there, right, and they're wanted and participating and engaged in this conference activity, and intend to continue to do so. That was all just goal 1. Under goal 2, we have this call or objective. Our goal is to build relationships with marginalized and underrepresented individuals and communities to increase collaboration and model diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this is a very actionable goal that we're aiming for. And specifically under 2A, so again, there's multiple objectives. We chose one to focus on. Under 2A, we welcome 3 new committee members who specifically do have elements of their intersectional identities that model diversity, equity, and inclusion, or marginalized and underrepresented individuals. We've had community conversations about how to effectively engage diverse members, right? So we don't just want to go out and say, have a seat at the table, right? Have a seat at the table because, right? Why is it important? And so being really intentional about how we want to engage people, and we've had a number of community conversations around that. And finally, we completed a helmet survey. You completed a helmet survey. We put a helmet survey out. Thank you so much to the over 190 people who completed that survey. And we will be meeting with the helmet, I believe it's 6 helmet manufacturers. Actually, it's next week, to be able to share out the data that you told us about sizes, about needs, about fit, also about challenges of fitting helmets and accessibility of helmets, literally in terms of getting them, keeping them within centers, and also the ability to fit them well to students. So there's a lot of data in there that we're going to share back, and then ask those companies how they plan to use the data, what PATH can continue to do to help, and why it's so important that we stay engaged in conversation together. Next slide, please. And finally, goal 3, which is to invest and develop organizational practices to ensure increasing representation of marginalized and underrepresented individuals in staff, board, volunteer leadership, excuse me, to model a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Again, very actionable type of goal here. And within this, we started with ourselves. So we chose one, again, we chose one objective, and this was to hire a consulting company called Point B, and they facilitated multiple conversations at the board level, because we cannot expect communities to embrace and change something if we're not also modeling that behavior within ourselves, right? So there's grassroots change and there's top-down change, and both need to happen. So we provided some, I work in a center myself, right? So I'm able to work within my center, grassroots up, and at the path board level and the committee level, we said we also need to embody that change and model it. And so Point B is helping us and had helped us engage in those conversations to start the process as well. So looking ahead, we're continuing our work. We've got this really amazing active board. I'm meeting one-on-one with everybody for the end of the year to make sure that we're all in lockstep walking into 2024. We're going to continue to make meaningful connections with you, right? Like, this is really what it's about, is hearing from you and engaging with you about how to do this work in a way that really means something. We want to continue to grow our committee and representation. So at the conference, there were applications to join the DEI committee. If you didn't get one and you want one, please reach out. Anna or I are happy to facilitate. We want to develop those meaningful relationships, and we really are aiming to engage in critical and meaningful conversations. And that means hard conversations and messy conversations. And that's really where our work needs to be. So that is what we're continuing to do while we look ahead to 2024. Any questions for me?
Not at this time, Aviva.
Okay. Thank you. I can go ahead and pass it forward.
And we're passing it to Sue Becklenberg, past board chair.
Okay.
Sorry, and to Sue.
Thank you. Okay, I get to report on your board officers for the coming year. Our nominating committee consisted of Ed Milford, our current board president, myself, and Kathy Alm as a non-voting member. And your board officers, as elected by the full board for 2024, are President Scott Carver, Treasurer Robin Kruger, Secretary Jessica Normand, the past president Ed Milford, President-elect will be Brandon Monkmany. I do that to him every time. And the member at large, Christina Sorensen. And I think that goes back to you then, Kathy, right?
Goes back to Ed.
Back to Ed, I'm sorry. That wasn't in my notes. So back to Ed. And before he says anything, I just say, yes, I'm rolling off, and it has been an honor and a privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. With that, let me just recognize Sue Beckenberg for her enormous contributions to the Board of Trustees of PATH International. She's just been amazing over the several years that she's participated, not only as a past president, not only as a past treasurer, who, by the way, was my mentor towards becoming the treasurer, but she also was a volunteer early on with PATH International and has spent 20 years in the industry, just making so many major contributions. So we want to thank you, Sue. We did recognize Sue during the annual conference and present her with an award for her dedication and support of PATH. So Sue, all the best to you and on your center that you now have. That's a lot of work. And thank you again. And thank you for your leadership. And thank you for being a tremendous past president, serving on a number of different committees. The latest one, obviously, the nominating committee, the board goal committee, the finance committee, and just pretty much anything I ask you to do, you are right there to take over and do a great job for me. So thank you and all the best. So with that, we have one other board of trustee that will be leaving us. Lily Kellogg has been a tremendous contributor to PATH International Board of Trustees, serving 6 years on a number of different committees. And by the way, for those of you who may not know this, but Lily was the 2022 James Brady Professional Award recipient. And we know that's such an honor to receive such an award. Lily has been on, as I mentioned, several committees, and most recently the Finance Committee. So she was not afraid to put her toes into something that she didn't, spend a lot of time with. Lily was also the CEO of a premier accredited center there in Dallas. So just a tremendous program individual, tremendous contribution to our board. Lily, you will be missed. Thank you for your amazing contributions to the board, and best of luck. And thank you again.
Well, Ed, I'd just like to quickly say I am so grateful.
Absolutely.
And thank you so very, very much for the accolades. And I want the membership to be aware of what a wonderful board they have serving them, and really pretty dynamite, and work hard and heart and soul to represent the membership the best that they can. And I'm very grateful for each and every one of you. And I'm not going away because I'm still on some task force and other projects, but and I do have to correct, I won the James Brady Award in 2002.
2002, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, it was a while ago. But anyhow,
Yeah.
thank you very much, and to each and every one of you.
Thank you so much, both Sue and to Lily. And at this time, I will entertain any other business. Rain, any other business in the way of questions?
Yes, we did have a few more pop up. Brett, this one is regarding your section. How do we find out more about the candidates who are nominated for the credentialing committee?
Sorry, my webcam isn't on, 1 second. They've provided their statements that are included in the survey. But if you want additional information, I can refer you to bios that they have provided publicly through their places of employment. So I'm happy to, if you reach out to me, I'm happy to direct you to those.
Perfect, thank you. Brett, another question for you. What if the EAL sessions provider is actually a certified provider through a different accredited certifying body?
I need to speak with that person directly, so I will follow up with you to make sure I understand all of the pieces that play into this question and the qualifications.
Perfect, thank you. Carrie, a question for you. Are you able to share what the average score is for the virtual site visits?
That I don't have put together. I can find that out, and I can get with that person as well. I'm sorry, I'm not the one who does the scoring, so don't have that right off the top of my head.
Sure, no, thank you. Other than that, just a couple of thank yous to the board and Kathy and everything that you guys do, and a very grateful member to be a part of PATH International.
Thank you, Rain.
So with that, and thank you, Rain, and thank you, the members and the Board of Trustees for attending the annual conference. At this time, I will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Okay. And anyone in the second?
You don't actually need a second, Ed.
You don't
to
need a
end.
second.
Okay, well, we don't need a second. So again, thank you, and I will turn it back over to Kathy.
Thank you, Ed. And I do want to take just a moment to give a big shout out to Ed, who is now the outgoing president. Luckily, we will have him around at least for the next 2 years, but Ed has also done phenomenal work on behalf of PATH International, as well as the membership and credentialed professionals through his 2-year tenure of leading the board, leading during some challenging times with the pandemic and other issues. Ed always had a great way of leading in such a way that provided opportunity for everybody on the board to weigh in on decisions and helped guide the board to having really good discussions that led to really good decisions for PATH International. So Ed, on behalf of the board and staff, the membership and the certificates, I want to thank you for your service as board president.
Thank you, Kathy, and it's been a pleasure, as I mentioned before, and I'm not going to add much more to it. Well said, and thank you, and thanks again to the whole team and the board of trustees and members and certificates. Thank you.
And I want to close by thanking everyone for attending the annual meeting. As a membership organization, it's important to update all of you on the work being done on your behalf, as well as the health of the association. Thank you to our sponsors that you see on the screen. They support our work and the membership and credentialed professionals and the entire industry. Thank you again. Go out and have a great rest of your day or evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Oh.